Hey all, we're launching live this morning on a kind of a celebration at on two different levels. The first, obviously, is as we celebrate All Saints Day or All Souls Day. In addition, we are integrating some of the themes and the traditions of Dia de los Muertos into our time together today, where we're going to spend some time honoring those that we've lost over the years, to hold them again in our souls and remember the vibrancy of their lives. I'm glad you're with us today. If you're logging on and just settling in, uh, I'm going to start in a few minutes. I'll let some of the music of Cascada de Flores kind of fill the atmosphere as we gather together today. But if you have a moment and you would like to use this time together to honor someone that you have deeply loved and have lost, I would encourage you to maybe pause this and put together a small altar, some pictures, candles, flowers, things that allow you to remember that person. And then use this time together that we move through to kind of hold them again and let their life dance within your own. So I'm going to shift off screen for a little bit. We'll get started in a few minutes. You can listen to the music of Cascada de Flores, but it also gives folks a chance to log on and get ready for this morning. So welcome. Glad you're here. Well, welcome. I know some of you have started to log on already, so we're delighted that you're here. One of the things that we try to do every time we gather together on a Sunday morning or whenever you connect to this live stream is to just simply acknowledge that both you're here and that you're able to connect to others who might be able to join us on this live feed. And, to build a kind of a sense of community. And today, particularly, we think about the way in which community is not just uh, the connections or the relationships that are part of our present moment, but also the community of all those that have preceded us, right? Those that we have maybe lost along the way, those that we hold in our memories, those names and stories that we continue to keep alive in our culture and our personal lives as a way of knowing that we are deeply connected into the wide and mysterious web of life that holds us all, that reaches back over the course of time, that suspends us right now in this moment, and that will be present for future generations as well. There is something deeply mysterious about being held in this moment and acknowledging both the long past that has held and sustained life and the life of our loved ones, and the future of that gift of life that will hold many generations yet to come. We but reside in this moment, suspended between those two mysteries. And today, as we celebrate All Souls Day, All Saints Day, and Dia de los Muertos, we want to kind of acknowledge and land again in that deep connection with others. So I'm glad you're here, glad you're able to connect with one another as we begin this morning. Just some words of introduction to how this service will work today. Uh, Normally what we do is gather together in a sanctuary or an open space and have many people come together and build altars. As you can see behind me, we've taken the time in our household to just build a small altar in memory of people that we have lost over the years, and I will acknowledge and hold them today. And as well, we've got 4 candles today to honor four very powerful women, actually, who we've lost as a community of faith over the last year. And we will acknowledge them today as well. So today is a weaving together of poetry, a weaving together of some moments of reflection, an encouragement for you to pause for a moment and maybe tell a few stories about the people you want to honor today, if that's something that you choose to do. But a way to remember how life and death ultimately dance together and to honor that today. So I'm glad that you've chosen to be a part of today. And I thank you too for, I don't have an eye on the posts, but I noticed someone said good morning in Spanish, which was a great thing. All right. Let me turn off my phone and then, because I just heard that beeping, and then I'm going to start with a piece of poetry and kind of get us centered for today, and then we'll begin our journey together as we honor those that we have lost to mark their kind of influence and effect on our lives and hold them and to hold each other today. As we get going, I just invite you to take a little bit of a deep breath and to ground yourself and let this poetry from a Mary Oliver poem called Sleeping in the Forest kind of situate you in the experience of what it means to allow oneself to drop into the embrace of Mother Earth or Sister Earth or back into the mystery that holds us all. This poem captures the kind of resting back into that place and the beauty and the wonder and the complexity of that moment. And for those of us that are experiencing people that we've lost, we know that they now rest in this great mystery. And so here, this poem from Mary Oliver, adapted from her poetry, Sleeping in the Forest. I thought the earth remembered me. She took me back so tenderly, arranging her dark skirts, her pockets full of lichen and seed. I slept as never before, nothing between me and the white fire of the stars. All my thoughts floated light as moths among the branches of the perfect trees. All night I heard the small kingdoms breathing around me, the insects, microbes, fungi, bacteria, and beetles, all who do their work in the darkness. By morning, all had vanished into something better, something beyond all that my imagination and wonder could create. And so today you and I pause, embraced by the slow rhythm of Mother Earth, by the rise and the fall of the seasons, the rise and fall of life and death. Today I entrust all I love to this great mystery. Today I entrust myself to this great mystery as well. And today, my friends, I invite you to entrust yourself to this mystery of life, to this mystery of death that holds us all. Welcome. To start today, I would invite you to maybe light a candle if you've created a small altar for someone that you are honoring today. I'm going to do the same. And to simply allow the candlelight to capture the vibrancy of their soul or their spirit or their life once again. Let the flicker of the flame, the warmth of the flame, be the presence of that person for you wherever you are today. And I know that we are kind of required to gather in our own spaces today, so you need to transform that space where you are. If you have the kind of tools available to you, transform that space into sacred space that holds that person that you love so dearly, so that we can honor them again this day. And so in a moment of silence, I will light a couple of candles today to begin inviting back those that my family have lost, that I have lost over the years, that I want to remember this day. And I invite you to do the same. as you stare into the flame that maybe holds the memories of those that you are connected to again this day. Hear these words as we begin to honor them. Today we gather to hold those who have journeyed the path before us. On this day of remembrance, we invite them to dance within our hearts again. We will not forget the way their lives moved within our own. Today, we allow our lives to rest within a story that transcends the veil of death and courses across generation after generation. Generations that have lived before us and will follow us. Today, we rest within the moment when the living and the dead, they all dance as one. The next poem is a poem called Two Deaths. And I love this piece of poetry because it reminds me of how it is that we are called to keep the memory of our loved ones alive or vibrant in our lives. Two deaths, another kind of reminder of the importance of holding those that we have lost deep within our souls. I've heard it said that we die 2 times. The first time is that final breath. And when nobody speaks our names aloud, we die a second death. That day, our names desert warm lips of friends and family. That is when our storybook slams shut, the hour when we truly turn to dust and bone. But today, alive, I walk this sacred churchyard, settled deep in shade of sturdy oaks and willows wide, reading tombstones unafraid. I trace each letter carved in stone, lifting their names high with my voice. Pat, Jay, Jeremy, Emma, Lee, and soul by soul they awake and they rejoice. For through my touch and through my words I raise their songs, their lives on earth. Second death must wait for now. Name by name, I give them birth. Isn't that a beautiful piece of poetry? Name by name, I give them birth, and let them live again in the vibrancy of my experience of life. Today, I will do that with those that I have lost, and I invite you to do the same. Just to be a moment of reflection today, and that is, I kind of wanted to go back to a story that happened to Lori and I a long time ago. It's all centered in St. Paul's Cathedral in London, England. St. Paul's Cathedral is the largest Protestant church in England. It was rebuilt 5 times, destroyed by the Vikings, then burnt to the ground a few times, and now it stands in its current state, designed by Christopher Wren. It's got a 16-ton bell at the top of the tower. It used to be one of the highest points in London. And I think the first time I experienced the church, the cathedral at St. Paul, was in the movie Mary Poppins, which happens on the steps of St. Paul. There's a scene in there. That's the first time I met that great piece of architecture, that great holy place. But on this particular day, Laurie and I were traveling to Zambia in Africa to visit some friends of ours. And so we decided to do a layover in London just for a couple of days, kind of catch our breath from the long flight, to experience London. We're not world travelers, so for us it was a real treat to just simply walk into the museums that were open to the public, and then of course to visit St. Paul's. And when we walked into that space, I was absolutely blown away by the architecture, by the by the quality and resonance of the sound, the acoustics in there, by the height of the ceilings, by the art on the walls, and yet everything I saw in there was familiar to me, right? Pews, the altar, the pulpit, choir loft, organ, all the stuff that makes, a church a church. I knew all that stuff. And then I began to see that in addition to that, there was over and over again tombs that held those who had passed away. Of course, they were all important people that were buried there, but boy, were they present, right? In the bottom floor, this great casket holding some important dignitary from the past. In every nook and cranny, maybe even behind the altar, there were places that held the dead. And so in that moment, all of a sudden I realized that this sanctuary, this temple, this cathedral not only holds my beating heart, but it holds the memory and the hearts of those who have lived before me as well. That in this space, all collected as one, in the most sacred of places resides the living and the dead. I'll never forget that experience. It gave me a new sense of how to tend to those that I have lost over the years. That in my most sacred moments, I don't stand alone, but I stand connected, tethered, integrated, folded into the lives of all those that went before me. I am but in this present moment, but I am a part of a long trajectory of time that reaches back in history and forward into the future. And to kind of find my place in that by tending to and not just relegating myself to the present, but allowing myself to be present with all those who have gone before me, particularly those who I love most dearly, those who I cherish. That's one of the reasons why I love Dia de los Muertos. It takes this time of year and it invites us through the wonderful and mysterious traditions from the Mexican culture to pay attention to the dead and invite them to be present for us in meaningful ways. I find it a much more deep and meaningful experience in some of the kind of the nuances of Halloween that we've tended to construct, right, with all of its blood and gore and fear. It's a much more warm and open and inviting holiday, Dia de los Muertos. It invited me this year to remember my grandma Emma. My grandma Emma Boyd was just such a quiet woman, right? And as I was preparing this week and just setting up the altar, I just allowed myself a time going back and remembering as a child my first vacation with my brother, taking the train, I think, down to see my grandma, my grandpa, and how tenderly Emma Boyd treated my brother and I. How she made us feel comfortable, even though we were scared on that first trip away from home. I remember how she worked in the kitchen so diligently and managed to work with all the foods that were harvested from her small farm that my grandfather would bring in, and how she stockpiled everything. I never saw her get upset or angry or raise her voice. She had this steadiness that just was folded into her soul in every moment. And then, because my grandparents were such religious folks, my grandma and my grandpa, who worked on a farm, basically, they were sort of farm folk, and they had a small farm down in Carlsbad. They were always kind of dressed in farm working clothes, they never dressed up very special. But how awesome it was on Sunday when we were there. My grandma would put on her nice clothes, get ready to go to church, and the joy in her heart when we all walked there together. Those are just such fond memories. And today, as I honor her and her memory and know that her DNA literally floats inside of my own, I too want to kind of live into her spirit as I live in the present moment and I pass on the gift of life to others. What a great joy it is to honor her. Today, if you have time, while I have shared those stories, if you're watching this and you'd like to pause it, if you're doing this during the week, just take some time to share a couple stories about the people that you're honoring today. Just to allow them to linger with you yet again for a time. That's the beauty of this particular holiday and the way in which Dia de los Muertos invites us to create that same energy that is created at St. Paul's Cathedral. This capacity to celebrate um, life and death and the way in which they truly dance together. Let that be a dance that fills your soul this day. Finally, one of the traditions that we want to enter into today as a part of our time together is to honor not only the people that you've lost. So I'm going to invite you to kind of hold somebody in your memory today, and we're going to toll a bell to kind of celebrate their life, let the resonance of their life reside with us for a time. And I will light a candle on behalf of some of the women that we have lost in our congregation over the last year. I was struck this year as we looked over who passed away, how powerful all four of these women were. Four women who've been a huge part of our congregational life, who've helped our community of faith thrive, who've worked in programming, who's worked on staff, in music, in quilts, who've been long-term members of the congregation, worked with our seniors. I mean, each of these women brought their huge personality and the depth of their faith to our community life together. And so today, when we honor them, when we toll the bell for them, they're not just names, right? They're like legacies that live on in the vibrancy of our common life. And I want you to be able to hold them that way as well. So when I list their names today and you hear the bell tolled, just let the wonder of that person and the vibrancy of their legacy and their connection to either you or our community live inside of you again this day. As well, I'm going to invite you to hold somebody in this moment too, and we will toll a bell on their behalf as well. So join with me today as we move into a time of naming and remembrance of those that we honor this day. We do not live unto ourselves. Rather, our lives rest upon the vast landscape of the human story that winds through the course of time and place. So many lives have come, and so many lives have returned to the soil. So many lives have given shape to our own, created language, culture, religions, and all of the traditions that we cherish. These are the ones who have shaped our wide sense of family and formed the stories that kind of guide us along the way. So many stories, so many dreams, so much sorrow, so much delight. And so today we embrace and celebrate the many spirits that stretch back through the story of life itself. Today I invite you to pause and hold deep in your own soul the person you want to honor this day on Dia de los Muertos, the day we remember those who have passed away. Our lives, they continue to swirl within the vibrancy and wonder of those that we have lost. These are the ones that we continue to cherish. These are the ones that have cherished us along our life's journey. So today we remember those that we have loved, and I invite you to speak their name either out loud where you're sitting today or in the silence of your hearts as we toll the bell in their honor. And today as well, we hold in our hearts those that have slipped beyond the veil of death, that lived within our community of faith. And as I list their names, we will toll the bell and light a candle in their honor today. We remember this day, D. Bakken. We hold in our hearts today Joan Hertzer. We hold in our hearts today Margie Barden. And we allow to linger in our souls this day Kathy Lickus. Today we hold all the saints who have gone before us. Let this day be a day of all souls, a day for the living and a day of the dead, a celebration of all the lives that continue to linger within our own. Thank you for taking some time out today to integrate this presentation into your celebration of Halloween, or All Souls, All Saints, and of course, Dia de los Muertos. If you get some time, I'd invite you to listen to the music of Cascada de Flores. You can follow them on YouTube if you like, so you can kind of integrate their music into the day, just to simply honor and to be thankful, have a heart of gratitude for the wisdom that's brought to us from the culture that provides us with a connection to Dia de los Muertos, a gift that I think we should cherish no matter where we find ourselves, across the planet, right? How do we continue to see ourselves folded into this great web of life and understand our connection to those who have gone before us? Cascada de Flores, of course, can't be with us this year, but if you want to integrate their music into your household, I've been streaming them all morning on my stereo and would invite you to do the same as well today. Today, as I send you out, I just want to close with a little blessing. And I won't do announcements today, just other than to tell you we will be starting up our outdoor parking, I don't know, like a drive-in worship, I think, on the 8th, I believe it is. So if you'd like to participate in that, watch for information about that. We're going to give that a whirl and see how that goes. We'll also live stream that as well, thanks to those who provided us the technology to do so. So we'll try to live stream that, and it'll be an experience that you can attend physically and to be safe in your own car or outdoors. So we're looking forward to integrating that into our lives together as well. Of course, confirmation continues to meet, so make sure if you're in confirmation, you're connecting with that team. I think it's at 11 o'clock today, so jump onto that experience as you continue that confirmation program. And then finally, we do have our QR codes up set around the labyrinth. So if you'd like to take a labyrinth journey during the kind of the crispness of fall, you can take your phone down there and a pair of earbuds and QR code your way into that walk. So give that a try if you'd like. So today, a closing blessing as we hold on and are held by all those who have loved us along the way. Today, we acknowledge the gift of life that holds us now, holds all that we have loved, and holds us forever. Trust that your life connected to the wider human family, to that great wide web of life, is the landscape on which we all journey together. Amen. Today I pause, embraced by the slow rhythm of Mother Earth, by the rise and fall of the seasons, the rise and fall of life and death. I entrust all I love to this great mystery. I entrust myself to this mystery as well. Amen. And thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next week.